Today the ship docked at Roche-Guyon for a short time before continuing on to Vernon. The village of Roche-Guyon lies a short distance from Normandy, on the banks of a meander in the Seine, at the foot of picturesque chalk cliffs dominated by a keep on the hill behind. It has been named one of France's most beautiful villages. The fortified keep, which proudly overlooks the Seine Valley, is linked to the chateau via a mysterious stairway dug into the rock. The Chateau de la Roche-Guyon, owned by the Roche-Foucauld family, features a combination of medieval, Renaissance, and classical styles. 1 hour from Paris, the Chateau de la Roche-Guyon stands its imposing silhouette from the banks of the Seine at the top of the hill. Leaning against the chalk cliffs since the Middle Ages, this ancient fortress has been transformed over the centuries, elegantly confronting various architectural styles. Built up against the cliff that concealed it from the world so many years ago, and towering over a loop of the Seine, history has certainly made its mark on the Chateau de la Roche-Guyon, which has had many different faces over the centuries. The present Chateau de la Roche-Guyon was built in the 12th century. However, it was just a simple, invisible cave dwelling at the time of the Norman invasions. The chateau came to the Roche-Foucauld family in 1669. The chateau retained its medieval aspect of a fortress with its moat and towers and cramped dark living apartments. It has since been transformed into an elegant 18th century residence and a graceful combination of various architectural styles. The first castle of La Roche-Guyon was invisible, entirely dug into the rock. In the 13th century, a main building was built at the foot of the cliff. A solid stone tower stands at the top of the hill, defended by a double spur wall. It is linked to the mansion by a secret passage. La Roche-Guyon is a place that preserves the memory of the Age of Enlightenment. The Duke of La Rochefoucauld and his daughter, the Duchess of Enville, elegantly renovated the chateau. A monumental entrance, stables, pavilions, terraces blend into the medieval fortress. A central figure in World War II, the castle's fortified keep, oddly located on top of the hill, has towered above the Seine Valley since the 12th century. It is linked to the lower stronghold by a tunnel carved through the rock. During World War II, Rommel knew just how strategically important this place would be. He actually set up his headquarters in the part of the castle carved into the rock, before being driven out by the Allies. Today we enjoyed an intimate view of the lives of Impressionist artists on this fascinating excursion to the village that Vincent van Gogh called home during his final days. We drove with our local guide to Auvers-sur-Oise, where Van Gogh and Paul Cézanne lived and worked. Throughout the walking tour, we viewed the subjects of some of Van Gogh's most famous paintings. Upon arrival, we began our walking tour at the village center and then to the famous Auberge-Ravoux. This was the artist's final home, where many believe he took his own life. Van Gogh was so attached to this place, he ended up spending his last days here in 1890. During that time, Van Gogh ended up painting over 70 works that haunt every nook and cranny of this pretty riverside village. On July 27, 1890, the tormented artist laid his easel against a haystack, walked behind the Chateau d'Auvers, shot himself, then stumbled to the Auberge-Ravoux. He passed away on the following day. Van Gogh's body was taken up a hill to the village cemetery where he remains. His heartbreaking brother Theo died the following year, and in 1914 was reburied alongside Vincent in a simple ivy-colored grave. Our journey continued to the famous Church of Auvers, featured in one of Van Gogh's greatest works. We then continued to the cemetery and the simple grave where Vincent and later his beloved brother Theo, with whom he exchanged countless letters, are buried. Their resting place is adjacent to the wheat field that Van Gogh depicted in The Wheat Field with Crows. This picturesque destination retains much of the charm that attracted painters such as Vincent van Gogh and Paul Cézanne, who came to draw inspiration from it. Despite its proximity to the capital and its abundance of culture, Auvers-sur-Oise remains seriously underrated.